Mining operations, like many other industries, produce a large amount of waste in their day-to-day operations. Here at BMA Goonyella Riverside, we are no exception. Throughout all areas of our operations, we produce a continuous stream of different waste products. In order to reduce the impact of this waste on landfill and the general environment, we are committed to the 4-level hierarchy for waste management. It involves reducing, reusing, recycling and disposing of waste responsibly. We can classify all of our waste into 3 categories: waste that can be recycled, waste that can be reused, and waste that fits neither of these categories and must be disposed of responsibly.
I don't believe the average mine worker does understand what happens with the waste once it leaves site. I don't think they understand the time and effort that's taken to remove any contamination so that we can recycle every bit of recycled material that comes from the mine.
I imagine when it leaves site it goes to the dump, most people think.
I don't really understand what happens to the waste when it leaves site. They tell us to put these things in these certain bins and you just go with that.
By segregating waste into the appropriate bins, you are helping ensure that the correct end goals can be reached for the different types of waste. As you know, we have 3 different colours for our bins, which indicate the type of waste. Green for general waste, lilac for recyclable waste, and brown for regulated waste. JJ Richards is responsible for removing our waste from site. Firstly, let's look at the general waste. JJ Richards collects our general waste on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
General waste is basically anything that is not recyclable and that is considered to be not harmful to the environment. All that material goes to landfill. If recyclables go into general waste, then we're wasting a resource. We're costing money to dispose of something that can be reused.
%40 of total waste products on site can be recycled.
I think recycling is a good thing. It sort of helps the environment. It stops us cutting down trees, recycling cardboard and things like that, and it reduces the landfill around the world.
Yeah, I think recycling is a good thing. It's absolutely necessary. We're fast chewing up the resources on this planet, and we're fast chewing up places where we can put our waste. So the more that we can reuse in one form or another, obviously the better.
Lilac bins are available for recyclables, which includes aluminium cans, steel cans, glass bottles, drink containers, paper and cardboard. When items that are not recyclable contaminate these bins, it reduces the efficiency and increases the cost of the recycling process.
The issues come from the non-recyclable items contaminating the recyclable stuff. So if you have an oil drum goes in there, 20-litre oil drum, and it might only have 5 litres of oil in it, but there's likely that 5 litres of oil will totally contaminate and destroy the value of that entire truckload. Putrescent waste, food scraps, that type of thing, in a recyclable bin, maybe because it's in a plastic container, but they've left the food scraps in there. That obviously goes rotten fairly quickly in the temperatures that we have here, and those recyclable materials are taken to our Clermont depot where people hand sort that, so it becomes quite an unpleasant experience for them dealing with those materials.
JJ Richards collects recyclable waste from site on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
When the recycling truck arrives in our yard at Clermont, the load is then sorted in between cardboard, recycled materials and general waste. The general waste is taken to landfill, the cardboard is shipped off to Mackay, and the remaining recycling materials are processed through our materials recycling facility. The material handling facility here is a labour-intensive recycling facility where we recycle as much material as we can, which leaves a small amount of waste that does go still to landfill, and then all these materials are then sent off to merchants for rebate. The cardboard, once it's recycled on the pad, is then shipped off to Mackay in 30-metre skips for baling. Cardboard comes in 2 lots of 30-metre skips from Claremont. So we do that twice a week, about 120 cubic metres a week comes through, as well as commercial stuff from Mackay. It's baled through the baler, as you would have seen. It comes out looking like this here. These are then loaded onto semi-trailers and B-doubles for transport down to Brisbane, where it's then turned into cardboard boxes, recycled.
Scrap metal is collected in skips and taken by JJ Richards to a collection point in Arden's yard for removal by metal recycling companies. Contamination is not really an issue with scrap steel, but problems are caused by overloading the skips. BMA Goonyella Riverside currently operate a recycling program for air filters from heavy machinery. Labelled bins are available for damaged air filters not able to be recycled. Regulated waste consists of all products contaminated with hydrocarbons such as oil filters, oil drums, oily rags, hydraulic hoses, blackjack and waste oil. To comply with the Goonyella Riverside Mine Environmental Authority, which is essentially our licence to operate, we must track all regulated waste leaving the site through waste tracking documents. These are then reported to the Department of Environmental and Resource Management. The different types of regulated waste are collected differently and treated differently. Oil filters are collected in special bins and removed by NQ Resources.
They come in the drums, which are located on the pallets here to my left, and are put through a process which an operator lifts them up onto the conveyor. They are sorted and all the rubbish is removed. They go along the conveyor to the hopper process that then tips into our hopper on this end of the machine, which has 2 large rams to squash the filter bricks to regain as much oil as possible. And then the brick is extruded out the front here into the bins, and we let the oil drain to the bottom of that, and then that product is off to the waste recycler and to go to the smelter for recovery.
Oily drums are collected in designated skips and taken to JJ Richards in Claremont.
Any excess oil is emptied off into a holding tank. The drums are then dumped onto a bunded pad. They are sorted. Any contamination is removed. Once again, majority of the contamination is grease. These are then washed, crushed, then transported to Mackay for recycling.
Brown waste bins containing other regulated waste, such as hydraulic hoses and oily rags, are collected by JJ Richards.
The thing to remember with regulated waste is that it's waste that is generally considered to be harmful to the environment. So the methods of disposal of that waste are expensive. So when you are disposing of, for argument's sake, an empty oil drum into a regulated waste bin, you are incurring a very large expense that is unnecessary.
Regulated waste is dumped onto a bunded pad where it is sorted. Any contamination is removed, mainly grease or blackjack. This is then taken to our Tea Tree Bioenergy facility in Brisbane.
The whole concept of the bioreactor landfill is to increase the moisture content of the waste, to break down the waste a lot quicker and generate more landfill gas for power generation. We're classed as a lined landfill, so we have a clay and a 1.5mm plastic liner that protects the groundwater below us from any leachate generated from our waste. These pipes, they're buried into the waste. They're perforated pipes, so essentially what we do is we suck all the gas out of the landfill under negative pressure and just take it up. It gets pumped up the hill to our flare. We envisage having enough gas to generate 2 megawatts of power, which is equivalent of generating electricity to about 1,500 houses.
Waste oil is collected and pumped to storage facilities on site. This oil is collected and removed from site at regular intervals.
Waste oil is collected from our customers, example like your mine sites from around the Bowen Basin, and then it's brought in by a road tanker. It's unloaded in a loading bay, as you see behind me there. It's then filtered as it comes off the truck, where they can remove any water and contaminants, such as your earplugs, rags, glasses that may be pumped through from the client's site. It is then transferred into bulk storage tanks that we have out in bunded areas. From there, we just process the oil through a dehydration system, which removes any excess water to make the oil a dry product. It's then relocated into storage tanks again, and then we separate it into different various grades of oil and maybe mixed with other products to suit other customer needs. Final use, generally boilers. People reuse it as a boiling fuel for heating and reuse it rather than use first grade products they can recycle.
Another of our regulated wastes is blackjack, the heavy grease used on site for lubrication of heavy equipment. We are charged for disposal on a per drum basis. JJ Richards consolidates the drums at Arden's yard to ensure they are full prior to being collected by NQ Resource Recovery.
The idea is that because these drums are so expensive to dispose of, we go through them and repack them to make sure each drum is completely full.
Once it arrives here, we remove it from the truck, inspect the loads, put it in storage to await its turn to go through the disposal process. The disposal process itself is a process called chemical fixation and stabilization, where the grease goes into a batch treatment process along with various other wastes, hydrocarbon sludges, acids, caustics, and various chemicals. It's then mixed into a homogeneous sort of a mixture with everything else. This is the pit as it's being mixed. You can see the bags of grease floating around. There's various containers in there that have been emptied. A few heavily contaminated 20-liter containers. Again, they'll get chopped up in this process and end up in the final batch. As this mixing process continues, fly ash and cement will be added, thickening up the batch, making it easier to break the bags and break down the containers. Once that solidification process takes place and everything is adequately mixed, the material is then transferred by tipper truck to curing to storage areas down the back where it's allowed to cure. This is a CFS material and it was processed a few weeks ago. Is now ready for testing and landfilling. As you can see, it's a much drier soil type mixture after curing. Once that is laboratory tested, it'll be accepted directly into a landfill.
Contaminated soil and absorbents such as kitty litter should be placed in the appropriate green skip for removal to the land farm.
I think if people knew how everything was recycled and where it ended up, I think that might help sort of maybe make a bit more of an effort to put things where they belong, you know.
If you could see where it went and what people did with it, it'd probably be a lot helpful. They would probably encourage people to use it, yeah.
There are many things which affect how efficiently our different waste products are either reused, recycled or disposed of responsibly. Your help with not overloading bins and segregating waste is crucial to efficient waste handling.
At the end of the day, waste segregation is all about saving money and looking after the environment. The better we segregate the waste, the more we can reduce the costs of disposal of those substances that are hazardous, and also the more use we can make of recyclable material.